Welcome to the video tutorial on identifying the subject in a sentence. The subject of a sentence is the person or thing performing the verb. Every complete sentence must have at least a subject and a verb. For example, this sentence has a subject and a verb. The dog drove the car. The sentence has an action and a thing performing the action. The action is drove, and the thing performing the action is dog. When identifying the subject in a sentence, it is easier to first find the verb. Take, for example, this sentence, she ran away. The subject of the sentence is she because it is she who is performing the verb. If we identify the verb first and then ask ourselves who or what is performing the verb, we can find the subject easily. For example, the verb is ran, so we ask ourselves who or what ran, and the answer is she. So she is your subject. Let's try another one. Mr. Smith ate his sandwich. In this case, the action is eating, and therefore the verb is ate. The verb eat in the past tense. Knowing that the verb in the sentence is ate, the next step to find the subject is to ask yourself who or what ate the sandwich. The answer is Mr. Smith. Therefore, Mr. Smith is the subject. Try this next one on your own. Remember, find the verb first and then ask yourself who or what is performing the verb. So, the sentence, the books in the library must be replaced, the verb is must be replaced. What must be replaced? The books. Therefore, books is the subject. It is important to note that simple subjects can be more than one word. Take, for example, the sentence, what she had already forgotten about grammar could fill an entire room. Remember, first find the verb. In this sentence, the verb is could fill. Now ask yourself, what or who could fill an entire room? The answer is what she had already forgotten about grammar. Therefore, the whole thing is the subject. By now you may have noticed a pattern forming. That is, that the subject often comes before the verb in the sentence. This is a good rule of thumb for finding the subject in a sentence. However, with all grammar, there are exceptions to this pattern. One example is in questions where a verb can precede the subject. For example, have you eaten breakfast? This sentence actually has two verbs, so watch out for this. Either way, though, the subject, the thing or person performing the action, is you. Another example is in the expletive construction. Here is the book. The word is the verb, and book is the subject. However, the verb precedes the subject. Another example of the verb appearing before the subject is after quotation marks. For example, help me, cried the man. The verb cried comes before the subject man. The verb also comes before the subject when the sentence gives focus to a particular word or phrase. For example, even more important is the chapter dealing with cell division. Placing the verb is before the subject chapter emphasizes the beginning part of the sentence. Even more important. Another exception is a sentence that begins with an adverbial clause or phrase such as this one. Seldom has so much been owned by so few. Again, the verb has comes before the subject much. Also look out for verbs coming before subjects in negative constructions. For example, I don't believe a word she says, nor does my brother. The verb does precedes the subject brother. And lastly, the verb also comes before the subject when you use the word so. For example, I believe her, so does my brother. Does is the verb and brother is the subject, and because it follows the word so, the verb comes first. Now, some of you might feel like some of these exceptions are very confusing. Therefore, when trying to find the subject, always remember to ask yourself, who or what is performing the verb? In this last example, the verb is understood. Therefore, if you ask yourself who or what is performing the verb, or who or what understood the exercise, your answer should be students. Good luck!